So excited. Today we have one of our special dietitians with us. We have Amanda Haar. She specializes in hormone health, women's health, works with a lot of kids and families. She also has semi taken over the Twisters adventure. So we have a pretty large partnership with a gymnastics facility, and she goes in and helps those girls understand how fueling your body and nutrition relates to performance, which is really cool to start these kids off at a young age. All right. So today we have a lot of fun stuff to cover, but at the end of the scheduled stuff we're going to cover today, we are talking all about hormone health. And we actually just recorded a podcast on this, but we wanted to give you kind of behind the curtains, behind the scenes of what goes on and what you can start doing today to optimize your hormone levels so that it is not an inhibitor for your weight loss journey if you're trying to lose weight, but ultimately overall health. So let's take a deep dive today. Before we get going, just a friendly reminder of what we've covered so far this week and what we are moving into today and tomorrow. So, day one, we talked about setting goals that stick. And I don't just mean goals in the gym, which so many of us, especially if you are a CrossFitter or maybe a marathon runner, you set goals of how fast do I want to run a marathon? How many marathons do I want to run this year? Or in CrossFit, how much of a PR am I going to get, or whatever the case may be. We set goals in there because there's metrics around it. But a lot of times we don't set goals in other aspects and other areas of our life, like family goals or relationship goals or spiritual goals. And we should be really focusing on this holistic approach of helping us become the best and healthiest versions of ourselves in all areas, not just in the gym. So I gave you the exact template that we use for setting goals, which would be really fun for you to spend some time doing that if you haven't done it already. Day two, we talked about my personal passion, talked about all about preventing and reversing chronic disease. I talked about a study that we found that looked at over 100,000 people, 116,000 people. And they looked at what are these people that are maintaining chronic disease for years? What are they doing differently? On average, people 9 extra years of their life chronic disease free. Now, chronic disease is defined as a disease that requires medical supervision for a year or longer. So some of the common chronic diseases might be diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Many of us have those. Research shows that 60% of the population, so if there's 100 people watching us right now, 60 of you have a chronic disease, whether it is known or unknown. 40% have two or more. And a lot of times they come in pairs or groups because if we're unhealthy in one area, likely it's going to transfer into other areas of our health. So, how do we prevent and reverse chronic disease? Again, one of my super passions. I hope that you go back and listen to that one. Yesterday, we took a deep dive into nutrition. We also talked about sports nutrition, which is such a popular topic, especially right now. If you do CrossFit, going into the CrossFit Open, I keep bringing up CrossFit just because we have a CrossFit gym, but we work with a lot of people that don't do CrossFit. Actually, most of Amanda's clients do not do CrossFit. They just come to us because they want to get healthier. Maybe they go to another gym down the street that doesn't offer nutrition, or maybe they don't do any fitness at all. And they're saying like, hey, I need someone to keep me accountable. So just to kind of preface that. Today, we're going to talk about 3 hacks to live your best life. And I can tell you that all 3 of these are so important for you to stay on track with what you're wanting for yourself and to feel fulfilled in all areas of your life. So I'm excited to share that with you today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk and wrap all of this up with a bow, how to make health a way of life. So super excited for today, where we're going to take a deep dive into 3 hacks to live your best life. And then at the end, we're going to talk some hormone health. Your favorite topic, Amanda.
That's right. I'm excited. All the questions.
All the questions. All right. As always, I want to start off with the mission here at Healthy Steps Nutrition and what we believe. We believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple habit-based approach. We know that helping you become the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat or going to the gym a few hours a week. Our expert coaches that are around the world focus on this holistic approach, addressing nutrition, stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, and of course, exercise and nutrition. All of these things influence each other. And when we understand that, we're going to be able to live our best life. So without further ado, we need to really talk about 3 hacks. And Before we go dive into this, I have to admit these things are tough sometimes for all of us, right? Like just because you hire a coach doesn't mean that they have everything together and they're perfect all the time. Like we all are human. We all struggle with our own things. So know that I'm coming to this with a place of, hey, I'm still working on these things myself, as well as I've learned a few things along the way that I hope will fast track your progress. So before I get into the hack number one, I want you guys to just think about something. Have you ever felt like you had so much on your calendar in a day that at the end of the day, you're like, what did I even get done today? Did I even get anything done that I wanted to get done? But you had so much stuff going on, but it was like all this stuff that you weren't really wanting to do. Or another scenario, have you ever been asked about something or asked to do something and you said yes out of obligation, but you knew you didn't really want to do it? Has that ever happened to you? I know it
Oh
has
yeah.
happened to a lot of us. And what we need to realize is when we say yes to one thing, we're saying no to something else. And if you're saying yes to all of these things that aren't in line with what you're wanting for yourself, you're going to end up saying no for what you truly are wanting for yourself. There's a book, I can't remember the author, but it's called The Best Yes. And I read it a few years ago and it really kind of shifted my mindset to I need to hone in and only say yes to the things that I really am wanting to do for myself and that's aligned with what I'm wanting for myself. And when people can realize that, it is going to be a game changer. When you can realize that, it's going to be game changer for you to live your best life. So before you figure out what do you say yes to, you have to define what you are wanting and live with that intention. And so many times there's a book by Donald Miller called Hero on a Mission. And it talks about you being the hero of your own story and understanding and really defining what you are wanting for yourself. If you were to, I've heard a few different people say this, but like writing your eulogy, right? Like at the end of your life, envision like what are you wanting for yourself and work backwards from there. Because every decision we make leads to where we end up going. Andy Stanley, a pastor at North Point Church, which I've had the opportunity to go to a long time, he's written a bunch of leadership books. We've been following him for a long time. He said a quote one time and it said, it really stuck with me. We all get somewhere. Very few of us get there on purpose. And if you think about that, it makes so much sense because so many times we're saying yes to all of these things and we're running around and we're chaotic and we're saying yes to because we were asked and we're not saying no to the right things. And when we say yes to all the things, we're not living with intention. And if your intention is to please everyone, are you pleasing yourself? Is my question to you.
Right. I love that. And it all kind of comes back to like the intrinsic values versus the extrinsic values, right? Like many times it can be very tempting to be a people pleaser all the time. And that is honestly one of the biggest things that can be a detriment to our own health, which ends up being a detriment to the people around us if we are becoming unhealthy. So I love that, like really living according to your value just helps lend clarity to everything else in the process.
And if you're not sure what you're wanting for yourself, go back to day number one and look at all of those buckets and areas of your life, your health, your family, your personal goals, your professional goals, your spiritual goals. Like go look at what you're wanting for yourself in all of those areas and then backtrack to what do you need to do and stay consistent with to start achieving what you want in those areas. And we talked about 7 different buckets of areas in your life and how to set goals in those 7 buckets. But the truth is, you're not going to be able to achieve goals in every single bucket every single year, right? Like narrow it down. What we do is we focus on, we call it the big 3. And it's 3 things that we want to really hone in on and dial in. And it's like this constant, like, balance, I would say, like figuring out, all right, what are you wanting for yourself? Pick out the 3 things. Maybe there's themes for you that stand out in a couple different buckets. And you're like, okay, yep, this is something that's really important to me. This is what I'm wanting for myself. And now the decisions that I'm making need to be in line with what you're wanting for yourself. If you do anything this year that helps you move forward, fast track your progress on whatever you're wanting, it's really spending some time figuring out what you're wanting for yourself and aligning so that and you have a filter for your decisions that you're making every single day. It is so, so helpful. The second thing that you need is you need a tribe of people. We are not meant to do life alone. I think this is one of the coolest things with getting plugged into a church, like into your local community or CrossFit. I remember going to our church and one of the pastors there was like, "Oh, you want a CrossFit gym?" It's kind of like like a small community,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mhm.
we don't talk about religion all the time, but we have people that are encouraging each other, that are cheering you on, that have same values of wanting to get healthy and prioritizing health. It's similar that you're bringing together people that are like-minded. And as adults, it is really hard to find people that are like-minded unless you plug yourself into a group and find people that your values align with each other. And when I look at the group of friends that we have, the people that we're connected with, personally, it's from CrossFit, either from different CrossFits around the world that Jason and I have had the opportunity to visit in. It's from our church. It's from Jason's golf group. They have common interests, but we're not doing life alone. And, I think we all need people to support us.
Definitely. That's so valuable. I mean, I feel like for us too, any place we've moved, and I've moved several different places in my life, as long as like, I always kept plugged into a church in that area. And then instantly you have those people in your community. And I think, especially since COVID, right? Like, it's made us all kind of have to reconnect in some way. And so this time it's more important than ever to become replugged into a community. Actually, one of my clients recently, he's had some health issues that have kind of, he isn't able to work right now and a lot of different things. And that actually was one of his action steps, was to just, check out a church, check out, a meetup, something where he has more of a community, because like you mentioned, we're meant to do life together.
When you think about who should be in your tribe, this is a really important aspect. You need people that have similar values as you do. If you're plugging into people that you don't have things in common, or what you're wanting for yourself is very different than what other people are wanting for themselves, they're not going to be a supportive environment for you, conducive to give you the support you need to reach your goals. So, finding your tribe intentionally is really important. A lot of people find people at a restaurant or a bar, or if you're going out all the time, like, I don't know that that's in line with health and wellness goals if
Right.
that's how you're finding your tribe. Okay. So let's find some productive ways to find some people that are their values are aligned with yours. In my opinion, you've got three groups of people that you really need to have with you. And I can tell you this first type of person that I'm going to talk about has been the reason why Healthy Steps Nutrition has been so successful. We've had the impact that we have. You know, I'm sure a lot of us have had this quote before, but if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like, you have to step outside of your comfort zone and find someone that is many steps or a few steps ahead of you, so that you can push yourself to learn. I remember John Acuff in a podcast I was listening to recently. He said, borrow someone else's diploma. And what that means is they have their own experiences. They've already been through stuff. If you learn from them instead of going through the same trials, tribulations, the struggle, the up and down to get to where they are, like, you're going to slow down your progress and your potential. So find people that are a few steps ahead of you. And I think this is really important and why we have to go back to step number one of define what you're wanting. Because if you're wanting to grow in your spiritual, let's give this example. You're wanting to grow in your spiritual faith, right? And all of the people, your tribe, your people that are connected with you are not the most spiritual people. How are you finding someone that's a few steps ahead of you to help you with your journey? You're probably going to help them, which is great. So we want to make sure that in whatever areas, in those big three areas that you want to focus on, let's say your health, right? We need to find someone. You need to find someone, a coach, a mentor to help you so that you can fast track your progress and take the guesswork out of it, right? Professionally, like, I meet with all of our staff. We have a chief of staff that meets with the staff. I meet with the staff because I want to figure out, what are you wanting? How are you wanting to grow? How are you wanting to make a bigger impact so that you fulfilled, and what your strengths are aligned with what we need as a company. And you need that. Everyone needs a mentor. And business owners, if you don't have a mentor, please go find someone, go hire someone, because you're going to be able to fast track the impact that you can have, and ultimately why you started the business that you have, when you have a coach, a mentor guiding you in the way. So in your tribe, you need someone that's a few steps ahead of you, or many steps ahead of you, to fast track your progress. You need someone beside you for accountability. Like, everyone needs someone to keep them accountable, every single person. And maybe there are those type A people that are like, nope, I can do it myself. You need a system for accountability then at the very minimum. But I know for even myself, we own a gym, right? We own a CrossFit gym. We're actually right now here in my home office. I don't work out of the gym anymore uh, very often. But what I found when we opened up the gym, my workouts were so inconsistent. I was working out of the gym at that point. I wasn't working out. And you might be thinking, you own a gym. Why are you not working out? And it was because I was distracted. I didn't have an accountability partner. And working out by yourself is really, really tough. Especially if your goal is to get in shape and to start exercising, find someone who likes to do the same exercise as you, that's going to go at the same time as you, because now you're not only showing up for yourself, you're showing up for them. Right now, we're in 21 days of prayer and fasting at Coastal Community Church. And we have a few girls, Shayla and I usually come back to the house because we usually work out together. One of the ladies there, we go to the gym, but right now we don't have the time to do that. So we come back to our house and we're working out. And she invited a couple other people. They're getting into a good routine. They have accountability. They're not just showing up for themselves, they're showing up for us. We don't want to let each other down. You need an accountability partner. And if you have one, reach out to them and say thank you, like positive reinforcement. Hey, you know what, Amanda, I didn't want to work out today, but I knew that you were going to be there. I just want to thank you for being my accountability partner. Like they don't realize the impact that they're having on you unless you tell them. So go out and like say something if you have someone. And if you don't, find someone that is going to do the similar type of exercise with you, that's going to join a similar time frame as you, and set a schedule so that you guys show up for each other. And the third person that you need, and it might not be your accountability partner, is a cheerleader. You need someone that's going to cheer you on. You need someone that's going to draw out the positives. Recently read a book called The Gap and the Gain, and it was a really insightful book, and it talks about how a lot of times when we're looking at something and we're in this place, probably right in the middle, where we've had some progress with whatever, but we have a long way of where we want to go. And a lot of times what happens is we're here and we're constantly looking over here where we want to be versus looking at how far we've come. And a cheerleader will help you do that. Someone that's encouraging you, that's supporting you. What I say as our nutrition coach is like, hey, you're bright spot engineers. Like you need to find the positive, because a lot of times, like, we're hardwired for negative. We are hardwired for negative. We have 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative. If we had someone else reminding us, like, Amanda, look how far you've come. Like, if you're intentional with that, how much better would you feel? We know that success breeds motivation.
And this is huge, right? Especially if you're a leader in a company, in whatever group you're in, like being the cheerleader of those around you is only going to help out other people be more well, be productive, and encourage their success too. So it's cool to think about like how we can seek the cheerleaders for ourselves and also be the other people's cheerleaders around us.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking like, I don't, I don't have that person, or that doesn't come natural to me, like be intentional with going out of your way to have an attitude of gratitude, because it truly does change your day. And if you struggle with that, like when you're around people that are negative, it brings you down. Like it's draining. I'm sure we've all had a conversation with someone where, man, it was a struggle. And then we leave and we're like, holy cow, like I need to go for a run or something and like boost my endorphin so I feel better at this point. So we want to make sure that we're a positive light for people around us, and that you seek out people that are a positive light for you.
And thinking of that too, something that I was thinking about the other day, like what are we surrounding ourselves with in the media as well?
Oh my
Is
gosh.
that bringing us up or tearing us down? Because that can make a huge impact on our stress levels and our thinking patterns as well.
So important. So if you think about you're here at the center. Do you have a mentor or a coach? Do you have a friend, a cheerleader? You got to have people around you. What I would venture to say is a lot of us are so busy, and I won't even put that in quotation marks because we are so busy. Like we book our schedules to be absolutely crazy, but maybe you just block off some time to reach out to a friend and connect with people and just slowly start building this tribe of people. And even just because the research shows about goal setting, like 92% of people fail their New Year's resolutions. And if we dig deep into that, like why are people failing? Number one, and they set unrealistic New Year's resolutions. They don't write them down so they forget about them. They don't tell anyone so they don't have anyone to keep them accountable. Like, this is the reason why you need your tribe. If you want to be successful, you need people that are supporting you to help you reach whatever goals you want. You need a mentor to help fast track your progress so it can take the guesswork out of it for you.
And if you don't have those people in your life, a great conversation a couple points you want to think about is talking about, you know, this is how you could help me. And this is why I need you to help me. Because we think about that even in like spouse relationships, like your spouse probably wants the best for you, but sometimes they don't know how to help you. So those are two really important things to bring up in those conversations if you're seeking one out.
I think this is a really great point because we see this with spouses that we work with. Like, let's say the wife wants to lose a little bit of weight, and then they tell the husband, and then the husband is like nagging or like constantly like, can you do that? Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to do that? Probably not the best way to support the wife. So you need to figure out, what does a supportive relationship look like with the people that are your cheerleaders, with the people that are your friends? How are you wanting them to support you? Like, write that down because you need to figure that out before you have a conversation, have clarity around what you're wanting for yourself.
Right.
Good point. Thank you. All right. So if you're thinking like, hey, I need a coach, I need a mentor, I need someone to help me. I specifically have a lot of goals around health, wellness, weight loss, feeling better. Like, all the things that you're talking about in this wheel are something that I need to work on to become the best version of myself. HSN coaches, what sets HSN mentoring apart is the accountability and support. And you can go to hireanutritioncoach.com and find a Healthy Steps nutrition coach near you, or you can go to healthystepsnutrition.com and apply for coaching with us. But what it looks like is there's personalized messages reaching out to you. We track progress, which is what we'll talk about in a second. But the coaches help you create a plan using a holistic approach. There's mentorship to help guide you, and really not coaches telling you what to do. Like, that's not the goal. We don't want to tell someone what to do. We want to figure out what's important to you. What are you wanting? What's realistic for you? And let's create a clear path to help you be consistent. Because at the end of the day, consistency is the driver of results. It's not some automated message. It's an actual human, a coach that's there, that's mentoring you, that's supporting you every step of the way. And when you look at all of the other programs, and the reason why we've done that is because we realized, man, when our clients have more touch points with the coaches, they're more successful. That's why we created the higher tier plan. That's why when we do continuous glucose monitoring, those clients have calls with their coach every single week. So there's immediate feedback and coach mentorship to help them create a plan and fast track their progress. I mean, Amanda, you work with a lot of people on the higher tier plan, and you say it all the time, like, these people see better results because there's more support, there's more accountability, there's more personalization.
Right. And you think about a course of, let's say we see each other monthly or bi-weekly. There are a lot of moments in your life that happened from one time to the next time, and a lot of maybe questions that come up or challenges that you have. So the more you can kind of talk with your coach to overcome those challenges together, review the bright spots, like we talked about the importance of reviewing the bright spots to increase your motivation, that's where we see a lot more success.
I love it. All right. The third thing that you need to do. So the first thing, we need to figure out what we're wanting. The second thing, we need to figure out a tribe to help us get there. The third thing that we need to do is track our progress. And I don't just mean the numbers on the scale. If you're looking for health goals, we need to keep track of our progress, to revisit our goals. Going back to what I said with, why do people fail New Year's resolutions? Why do they fail goals? Because they don't write them down. They don't track their progress. They're not seeing the milestones. They're only looking at how far they have to go, and they give up because it's overwhelming. And I think this slide gives the perfect example of what people think works. Like, those were super restrictive diets, going all in. I mentioned 75 hard yesterday with like 75 things you need to do a day. It's overwhelming. You might get through it in 75 days, but on day 80, you're right back to day one's habits or day zero's habits. So what do you need to do? One step at a time. Super simple, drives consistency. Consistency is the driver of results. We have to start small. We have to be consistent. And for every person, that's a little bit different, because every person's starting point is different. And that's why I think it's so helpful to actually have a coach and a mentor, because they can help you figure out, all right, where are you at right now? What is a realistic next step? How can we be consistent? How can I help you stay consistent with that?
And I think a really cool part of that too is, like, as a coach, like, we're taking notes. We're keeping track of these bright spots in your life. You sometimes can only see the number on the scale, right?
Mhm.
But we can look back to last week of, hey, last week you're doing this and now you're doing that. Like that is one step forward in the right direction. So really the value of those little bright spots along the way are super, super helpful.
Absolutely. The other thing I would challenge you guys to think about is the non-scale victories. I showed you this a while ago, but the thing is sometimes we only track progress based on a number on a scale. And if you're working out, if you're exercising, muscle weighs more than fat, right? So the numbers on the scale might not be accurate of the progress that you're going. And ultimately, like the numbers will trend in the direction that you want them if you're doing the habits consistently that you should be doing. But the other non-scale victories that I think are so important are things that are listed here: your energy levels, your mood, your confidence, how clothes are fitting. If you're decreasing a bunch of inches, your clothes are probably fitting a little bit differently. Maybe you're able to get into some clothes that you haven't been able to wear before. So many of the people that come in for free intros that I talk to at the gym, they'll say like, I have this section of my closet of clothes that I really want to get into. I remember one of actually the 2022 best transformations. Amanda actually worked with her for a while. Her name was Andrea, and she came in a little over a year ago at this point, and she said, I want to lose 50 pounds. I've got this dress that I really want to wear for a wedding, and I really want to feel really good in it. I deserve to feel good in it. And I remember her sending me a picture of that dress after during the wedding, and I have goosebumps now thinking about that. Like, she worked so hard. She was so consistent with her nutrition and her sleep and stress management and exercise to get to where she wanted to be. And now she has goals of so many other things, and it's such a cool thing when you can not just focus on a number on a scale, but you can really see how are all these other things that are important to me progressing in the right direction to ultimately stay consistent, increase the consistency with the habit. I'll give you alcohol for an example. Like, I realized that when I drink a glass of wine or two glasses of wine, the quality of sleep is terrible. And then I wake up fuzzy the next day. And then I'm not my best self for showing up for work or whatever I have to do. Like, it's not worth it to me to drink at night. It's just not worth it during the week because I need my sleep to be able to function my best. And if we can connect those dots for you, whatever is important to you and the non-scale victories that are important to you, the habits that you have to do, the things that you have to say no to so that you can say yes to the things that you're ultimately wanting is so much easier.
And when I think back, sorry, I'm going back to Andrea, one of the things that she changed so early on, which gave her this success, was her mindset and relationship with food. And I think sometimes we really like to understate the importance of that. We just want to have the what and doing that. But the consistency, obviously, of the habits and changing our mindset around food made all the difference to make consistency possible. So really in our diet culture, sometimes we have to shift our expectations with our goals, but also, how we're approaching this, in what sense we're doing so.
So when we talk about mindset around food, what are the common things that you see from people who've done restrictive diets or like the yo-yo dieting? Like, what kind of mindset do they have, and and it's not, Soundtracks is a great book. It talks about the mindset shift, and it's not a light switch. Like, it doesn't just happen like, oh,
Yeah.
yep, I got a great mindset. It's a dial, right? Like, you have to work on it consistently to start shifting your mindset. It's not a switch. You don't just turn it on and say like, oh, yep, my mindset around food is going to be good today. And the past 50 years that I've had it, not good.
Right. Yep. So the biggest things I see is all or nothing thinking around food. So either it's a good food or a bad food. I'm either on a diet or off a diet. The next one I see is emotional eating, right? When we use food as our stress management versus healthier versions of the stress management. And then also kind of shifting to gratefulness for the balanced meals that we've been having rather than always feeling like I just want that next meal. I just want that next meal. So really shifting into that gratefulness for the things that we have and the food that we have to nourish our bodies.
That's a really interesting and important point, because a lot of times if we're thinking about foods and starting to eat healthy, especially if we haven't ate healthy in a long time, we're going to be naturally thinking like, oh, well, I like the other food that, I can't have that. I can't have that. Now you're constantly thinking about how you're going to get that. And then when you finally get that, you overconsume it versus like, man, when I eat this meal, I feel really good after. My energy level is good after. Like I feel balanced. I don't feel bloated. Like I feel better when I eat balanced meals. And then you get that gratefulness because of it versus the mindset of I can't have that, you know?
Right. Exactly. I mean, we never want to feel like we're missing out from, the great cradle to the grave. We always want to feel like we're having all the things that we want, and we never want to be told no. Right. So
Right.
we need to kind of filter that into a more manageable and peaceful state of mind.
So when we track progress, I think, one of the reasons why we track habits is it's something that you can do every single day and you can get a routine of tracking habits. And in the Healthy Steps Nutrition app, you can track habits. But if you are like, I want to try this on my own, maybe you create a calendar for yourself and you have little boxes with every single day and you go in and mark it off so you can see at the end of each week, did I do good? Did I not do good? What were the obstacles in the way? I mean, that's essentially what we do, our coaches do with our clients, but you have someone keeping you accountable, which ultimately is the secret to success. But if you want to do it yourself version, that's how I would start. In the Healthy Steps Nutrition app, this is what it looks like. You have a habit, you have tips, you have a calendar view where you can see like, was I good? Did I stay consistent? Or was there an obstacle that got in the way? Like if my goal is to create margin in my day. And this is something that this is a legit goal that I have, create margin in my day. And I'm not able to do that this week. It didn't even make it out of week one. My goal for 2023, one of the goals, did not even make it out of week number one. Why was I not consistent? This morning when I was getting up, I'm like, okay, I know exactly why I wasn't consistent. I didn't block off my calendar. I didn't change the appointments to have a 30-minute buffer. It's still the 10-minute buffer and every appointment goes over. So I'm constantly like worrying about the next thing. And how is that impacting what I'm wanting for myself and the relationships that I have? It's making a huge impact because I'm constantly thinking about the next thing I have to do. And if you want to be fully present, you need some margin. So what are you going to do? This is where a coach comes in, right? Like, okay, you weren't consistent with the habit. What can you do? What barriers were in place? What can you put in place to be more consistent? Well, I can go into my calendar for the rest of the year and block off between 12 and 1 is going to be the time that I have created some intentional margin in the middle of the day, and I can change the appointment so that I have a bit more of a buffer. And I think sometimes with coaching, sometimes people feel like, okay, Amanda, you can only help me with nutrition. You can only tell me about food. And the truth is, there are so many other things that Amanda is so great at. Our coaches are so great at to help you with this holistic approach to understand how all of these things, something as simple as creating margin, will help you feel more fulfilled and ultimately cause you less stress, which is causing less foods that you're craving that you probably aren't probably the healthiest options for you.
Right, exactly. And honestly, with a lot of clients, like sometimes we start with non-nutrition goals because we need those things to be in place in order to be successful with our nutrition steps, right? And success breeds motivation. So we want to start with the lowest hanging fruit and then build up from there.
Love it. Just as a reminder, I mentioned this yesterday, but if you're like, Nicole, I need some coaching, I need some help, I need some guidance, we do have a 28-day challenge. I don't love challenges, but I do think they're a great way to kickstart your journey, a great way to get it going. And then there's the opportunity to continue to work with our coaches after the challenge is over, which is ultimately the goal because you really do need accountability and support. The goal of this challenge is to give you the solid foundational habits. We're talking about nutrition, stress, mindset, and daily movement. Sleep. It's going to be awesome. There are only less than 30 spots available now because we launched it yesterday. It starts March 4th or February 4th to March 4th. It's going to be a lot of fun. You actually get 3 meetings with a dietitian so that you get meet with them, talk about your goals. Then there's also this group feature, your tribe, your group of support system, people that are alongside of you to keep you accountable, cheerleaders. Our team is going to be in there. It's going to be absolutely awesome. We'd love for you guys to join us. Here are all the things. It includes a ton of stuff to help you. It is a really, really great option for you if you're looking for additional support after this challenge to really get some personalized attention and have the group support to kickstart your journey to health. Now it's fun time for Amanda. We are going to talk all about hormone health. So when we think about hormone health, Amanda, why is there so much buzz around hormone health.
Right. So, I mean, one of the basic things is that we have more research nowadays about how hormones impact our brain, impact our bodies, impact our muscle status, which all goes back to mental and physical well being. I started kind of dipping my feet in the water of hormone health back probably 12, 13 years ago. I'm dating myself, but it was in college, at the end of college, when I really started kind of diving into the research. And there was a little bit then. But now we have just a wealth of information that is available to the common public, research articles, and more things that are studying with women's health that we didn't previously have. A lot of our previous research studies has been on men and non-cycling females. So females, in the menopausal period. So we just really have more information available. And thankfully that information is trickling down to all of us. And we're seeing the importance of that for our whole well-being.
Awesome. So big picture with hormone health, obviously your cycle, you've got perimenopausal, menopausal, even more important because your hormones are drastically changing at that point. But we've got like big picture, you've got your thyroid, right? So can we talk like high level overview? Why should people be caring about hormone health and how is it related to weight loss?
Great question. So our thyroid is kind of like our big metabolizer of our body. It basically controls our metabolism. So it produces the hormones that our body needs in order to, have a good metabolism, right? So we want to make sure that we are doing things to support our thyroid, which includes eating balanced nutrition with the micronutrients and minerals that we need to convert the inactive form of thyroid hormone to the active form of thyroid, which is what our body needs for metabolism. We also want to support our gut health and our liver health because these are two important players in making sure that that hormone is in the active form. And then lastly, we want to make sure that our body is not in a chronically stressed state, either from drastically dieting or being in a chronically stressed place.
Okay, let's talk about drastically dieting because it's the new year. There are fads popping up left and right. There are fads that have been around forever, super restrictive diets. Hey, don't eat anything, just drink these shakes, eat one meal a day, and the rest you can have is these shakes. And people will lose weight quickly,
Fast. Yeah.
like
Mhm.
fast. And we are in this society where there's this instant gratification. We want instant results. We order something on Amazon and it's sometimes here that day, which is mind blowing that the Amazon fairies just show up with whatever we order. But the truth is your weight loss journey isn't like Amazon. We're not in this microwave society where you can say, yep, today is the day I want to lose weight and tomorrow's the day I reach that goal. Your weight didn't come on in a day. It's not going to come off in a day. And there are some detrimental things that happen when you do these drastic diets where you're severely restricting the calories, the macronutrients that you're having, and ultimately do damage that will be long after the whatever restrictive diet you're doing is over.
Right. So, yep. And there's several of them out there that, unfortunately, I've seen this time and time again, lose a lot of weight, gain it right back once you finish it. And then after that, it's a lot harder to lose the weight because what happens when we are in a calorie deficit and nutrient deficit below our basal metabolic rate, which is basically the amount of calories that our body would need in order, if we weren't moving, we weren't walking, talking, doing any of those things. If we're going below that, that's kind of a signal to our body that we are in a famine state. So our metabolism should slow down. It's actually a self-protective thing, but it works against us when you're wanting to have a healthy weight loss. And the reason for that, kind of diving further into the thyroid hormones, is that reverse T3, which actually is putting on the brakes of our active thyroid hormone. So this is where we love to go from the slow and steady place of habit changes, eating enough food, enough fiber, protein, nutrients. Remember that nutrients are really important for your metabolism and thyroid function, and really kind of doing that in a longer term sense versus dropping down and then having that struggle afterwards.
The research shows that 2/3 of people will regain the weight they worked really hard to lose within 5 years plus more. Like the research shows that people are not successful long term with weight loss. And the reason is because so many people go for these super restrictive diets instead of creating the foundational habits to maintain a lifestyle that sticks. One of the things I struggle with the most is the increase in bariatric surgery that has happened, gastric sleeves, bypasses, all these different things. But if you're not changing the habits that you do every single day, I've seen it over and over again. People with bariatric surgery, they lose a bunch of weight, but then they start gaining it back because the foundation is not there. They don't create a solid foundation of healthy habits. No matter where you are in your health and wellness journey, those habits are going to help you live your best life. Like, be able to live chronic disease free for years and years to come. And ultimately, that's hopefully what we all want.
Right. And thinking beyond the weight, right?
Yeah,
Like if we're getting adequate nutrients from the foods we're eating, adequate exercises, healthy habits, they're going to help our mind and our body.
absolutely. There's such a huge connection between our thoughts and how we feel and what foods we crave and what we eat. It all is connected. So we talked about the thyroid. Hopefully everyone understands, like, it's really important. And when you go on restrictive diets, your thyroid function is disturbed. We could say that,
Yeah.
disturbed. So we want to have more of a balance and focus on those healthy habits. What are some of the other hormones that we need to be thinking about what related to hormone health and weight loss?
Right. So, cortisol levels, I guess we'll dive into that next. So very interconnected with our hormone is cortisol and serotonin levels. So cortisol is our stress hormone, which is a good thing, right? And in the short term, it helps us get things done. It helps us run from the tiger, in prehistoric times. But we don't want it chronically elevated because this is detrimental to our blood sugar regulation, our thyroid health, and ultimately our sex hormones too. And then on the other side of things, our serotonin is the thing that helps us calm us back down, right? Parasympathetic nervous system. So we really want to think about, how our stress levels in our life, and there's always going to be stress, right? Again, stress helps us get things done, but how will I help my body get out of that stress state? Because the problem is a lot of times in our society, that stress mode just keeps continuing and continuing. And that's where a lot of times we see the abdominal adiposity. So like kind of fat gain around the midsection, blood sugar dysregulation, blood sugar issues. So really that stress management, I cannot emphasize enough, is a really important thing to first be aware of, right? A lot of times you can functioning on high stress and never even be aware of it. First be aware of it and then take steps, tools from your toolkit to manage it.
So the thing that is another buzzword is this idea of self-care, right? Like, okay, well, are you taking care of yourself? Like, what does that actually mean? What are the things that we can do to help boost serotonin levels, to help minimize the cortisol levels, to get back into a good cadence and a routine to help us be able to manage stress internally? And I think for every person, it might be a little bit different. I know you love yoga. I know you love it. You are so good at it. That actually causes me a lot of stress. So I that is not going to be the thing that I'm going to choose for self-care. That's why I think every person needs their
Right.
own list of things that are going to work well for them, and figuring out what causes you stress, what calms you down, what things do you want to do, so that you can have a good list, so that when you tune in, when you create margin for yourself and realize, okay, my heart rate's elevated, I'm feeling these things that I don't want to feel anymore. What can I do to put in place so that I can get more regular with my hormones?
I love that. And the whole like individualized fitness thing, right? Like there's so many opportunities for like exercising these days. There's the outdoors, there's different fitness facilities, there's videos online. Like there really is no end. You can find your fitness jam. One of the things that I love to kind of check that out, there's a quiz, the 8 colors of fitness, where you kind of like, it's kind of like related to the Myers-Briggs test, and you can put that in, and then it'll kind of like show, what type of things you might enjoy more based on your personality. And whatever leads you to that joyful movement, something you enjoy, so you'll do it daily. Your daily movement is your best movement.
I love that. Daily movement is the best movement. And even with CrossFit, right? That, so many times we go to CrossFit 4 days a week or 3 days a week or however many times. But what are we doing on the other days to get our body moving and staying consistent? Even if it's going for a walk, right? Going for a walk outside, listening to some music, taking a bath, or maybe it's a chamomile tea at night. Like, whatever you're going to do that works for you is something you need to put in place to help you manage your stress.
Love it.
Cool. You also mentioned, because we just did another podcast related to this topic, you also mentioned cuddling.
Oh, yes.
And you
Mhm.
mentioned having sex too. So, guys listening to this, girls listening to this, you like to cuddle. Great. You tell your significant other, like, hey, we got to cuddle. I need to get my serotonin levels
Right.
up.
It's good for your immune system too.
All the wins. And then they're
Right.
going to go back with, well, then we need to have sex too. So, okay, there we go. So important thing to think about with that, insulin sensitivity, insulin regulation is another hot topic when it comes to hormone regulation. Having blood sugar balance, blood sugar control is a lot of the times not looked at fast enough, in my opinion, in our general medical society. We find out too late that we're having blood sugar issues, that our A1C level is high, our fasting blood sugar is high. So now we get put on medications to lower it down. And then the problem is when you don't treat the root cause, if you don't get your eating habits under control, if we're not moving, if we're not sleeping, if we're not eating balanced meals, the medication's only going to work for so long. And then you're going to have a higher dose of the medication. Then you're going to have insulin. And it's going to be this constant vicious cycle. There's type 1 diabetes where your pancreas does not make insulin. Most people that are diagnosed with that are kids, although we've seen more adults recently being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is really interesting. But basically, your pancreas doesn't work, right? So your pancreas has a role to secrete something called insulin that helps regulate your blood sugar. And for people that have type 1 diabetes, their pancreas doesn't secrete insulin. So you have to inject it so that your blood sugar is regulated. Now, type 2 diabetes is, think about using your car and never changing the oil. So you're going. And then at some point, there's going to be a problem with your car if you don't change the oil for a long time. That's the way I envision our pancreas working with type 2 diabetes. Maybe have a different illustration, but so you're going. And then suddenly it's like, okay, my car's not working. Something's wrong. I've probably haven't taken care of it. And now I need to change the oil. A lot of times with type 2 diabetes, you're put on a medication first, like metformin, one of the most widely prescribed drugs out there, to cause your body to not take up as much glucose and does increase your blood glucose. But the problem with that is if we don't start changing our eating habits, eventually your pancreas is not going to work nearly enough as it should, and insulin won't be secreted. And then you have to start giving yourself insulin, which is injections. So I don't know about you, but I'm going to try to avoid at all costs not having to give myself shots every single day. And one of the things that you can do with insulin regulation, with blood sugar regulation, is have balanced meals, pairing protein, carbs, and fats together. It's one of the reasons why we talk about having the plate method, using the plate method. It's such an easy visual to know, like, is this plate balanced? Do I have protein? Do I have veggies? Do I have a little bit of starch on my plate? Yes. Okay, great. Half my plate vegetables, quarter protein, quarter starch. Now, most people with blood sugar issues don't find out that they have blood sugar issues until they were diagnosed with diabetes or prediabetes. And what's interesting is we at Healthy Steps Nutrition have started a program last year with continuous glucose monitoring. So Jason and I actually did it first in 2020. We were continuous glucose monitors. I think I wore mine for about 6 months. Like, it was a long time because we tested out different companies. So the company we ended up going with is really cool because they have a practitioner portal where all of our dietitians can see, or the dietitian that you're assigned to can see what is going on with your blood sugar in real time. So let's say you eat something. Let's say you eat like 4 slices of pizza. Your blood sugar is going to go up pretty high and pretty fast. And what happens is your body has to secrete insulin to bring it back down. But depending on when you eat that and what you do after, it could not go back down to the rate that it was at before, or it could stay elevated a little bit like longer, depending on time of day and your body, because everyone's body is a little bit differently. But the cool thing with pairing nutrition coaching with blood sugar monitoring is you get instant feedback. You don't eat the pizza, you have a balanced meal. You can see, oh, my blood sugar's staying in range the whole day and everything is great. It's normal that your blood sugar goes up and goes down when you eat carbohydrates. Like, that's a normal thing that's important for you to do. But what you don't want is it for it to go super high, stay up long, and have the crashes, because that's when your energy levels go up really high and then you're crashing and then you're not showing up as your best self and whatever you're really wanting to do in your life.
I remember seeing that one of the clients specifically noticed that when he ate certain things in the evening, then he would see that blood sugar elevated most of the night,
Yep.
impacting his sleep, right? So
Yep.
he could make that connection between that food, then his sleep, and then what his blood sugar was doing with all of it. So that's super empowering when you see that happen. And then when you see that not happen when you make different choices.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and something that an easy thing for everyone to walk away with, and I've mentioned this a couple days, is, hey, going for a 15-minute walk will drastically help your body your cells to be able to take up the sugar that's in your blood. So it helps to regulate your blood sugar so well. Just going for a 15-minute walk, something so simple as a walk after meals, is going to help you. And what that ends up doing is it helps to regulate your mood, your energy levels, you feeling better, feeling like good. And ultimately, like, we all want to feel good.
Right. And
Right.
I love how you mentioned, like, if you're aiming for 30 minutes a day or 60 minutes a day, right? Like you take a 10-minute walk after each of your meals, and that counts as your 30 minutes, right? And it
Yeah.
seems like little snippets of your day that you might be spending more than that on social media, 30 minutes a day. So
Right.
it makes it totally doable.
Awesome. So insulin, we talked about that. Any other hormones that are coming to mind? I know ghrelin and leptin are two of the hormones that we talk about that are also related to hormone health and weight loss.
Right. So leptin is basically the hormone that helps us feel full. Ghrelin is a hormone that helps us feel hungry. I know you do growlin, like growl, your tummy's growling. I do like my little gremlin that's when I get hangry comes out. Um, First of all, like really stopping and just being aware of those hunger cues is a first step that's super helpful. A lot of times we just push off hunger throughout our day because we're so busy. Americans, right, throughout our day. And sometimes we just don't recognize those hunger cues. So first of all, just allowing us to feel what it feels like to be hungry and feels like it to be full. And the next, a huge impact on those levels is adequate sleep. So we want to be shooting for 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night in order to have adequate levels of ghrelin and leptin, because it seems like ghrelin tends to be increased if we don't get enough sleep at night. And if you've ever experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. I can clearly think back to those times where I just like, I need another snack in the day and another snack. And that is because like your body's basically in an inflamed state, right? Like we are low on sleep. Our body wants something to up the serotonin. So those are some super, super important things especially if weight management is at hand.
Love it. Anything else you want to mention around hormone health, weight loss, anything? We have quite a few podcast episodes. You can go to Nutrition Made Simple and you can see those podcast episodes. I'll also link them after this recording is processed in the notes related to weight loss and hormone health. You talk about liver. You talk about alcohol related to hormones quite a bit. Blood sugar regulation. Anything else come into mind for you?
Right. I think as far as our topic of hormone and weight management, thinking about the sex hormones, right? So testosterone is one of the kind of the biggest players for men and their hormone balance. And testosterone levels help us gain lean muscle mass. So adequate testosterone levels is really important, and adequate protein and strength training are two big factors in that. Women have testosterone just in a lot lower levels, but for us too, it's very important to have adequate female levels of that in order to gain lean muscle mass and lose body fat if that is what we so desire. And then the other thing I would mention around just female hormones in a cycle is being just aware of your body and brain's fluctuations throughout a cycle. So not everyone has the same 28-day cycle like we would so love, right? For the sake of research, some people have 21-day cycles. Some people, especially maybe those with PCOS, have, 40, 60, 90-day cycles. But generally within that kind of regular cycle around 21 to 35 days, we have a few different phases in that cycle that our body's doing different things. And again, there's a lot more information on that on the podcast. Being aware that after our period ends and we are in the first phase of our cycle up to ovulation, generally we see lower appetite at that time because we do not have as high of a metabolism. Progesterone is a player that after ovulation increases and boosts our metabolism. So when we're thinking about optimizing kind of our intake, sticking at, let's say, 1900 calories a day throughout a cycle might not be the best for you, because you might need actually less food in the first half of your cycle and more food to feel satisfied in the second half of the cycle. So even just being aware of those fluctuations in hunger, appetite, and our body, because women can gain up to 3 pounds before their period happens. And that can be very discouraging if you're tracking your weight every day and you're seeing it go up for a couple of weeks at a time. I think taking those into consideration is really important and needs to be more well known.
Love that. I know that there's an app that you and I talk about often called the Flow app that helps you be able to track. And if you're like, man, I don't remember anything about like cycle and phases and all this stuff, it's a great just refresher of what's going on in the hormone levels, progesterone, testosterone that are going on inside your body with that app. So I would challenge you guys to download it. It's a free version. It's a little pink FLO is a good app for you just to see what's going on depending where you are in your cycle.
That's a fun one. Oh, and there's a new one out too. It's called 28. Some of the information on it doesn't quite jive with everything, but the thing that I love is they have extras, like actually workouts on it too for your phase. So I was like, that's a cool addition. So check them both out, see which kind of is your jam. And those are some great resources.
Awesome. If you guys have any questions at all after this podcast, make sure you type them in the chat and we will make sure and answer them. Amanda is on quite a few podcast episodes on Nutrition Made Simple. So please make sure to check those out too. If you started listening to the podcast and you are loving it, which I hope you are and finding valuable information, I would personally ask you to do a huge favor and leave us a review because it really helps that podcast reach more people, which ultimately is the goal, right? We want to empower 1 million people to take control of their health one step at a time. And the more people that we can get out the free information and help them take steps by themselves, kickstart their journey is really mission accomplished. So we'd love for you to leave us a review so that podcast can reach more people. If you are looking for help, if you're saying like, well, all of this sounds really good, but this is the year that I'm going to invest in myself and my health, and I want to take control of my health. A couple different paths you can do to get started. Number one, you can go to hireanutritioncoach.com to find a Healthy Steps nutrition coach near you. Quite a few of the gyms that have partnered with us, nutrition coaches that have partnered with us are running nutrition challenges. We are running a nutrition challenge at our HQ location in Florida starting February 4th to March 4th. It is going to be absolutely awesome. There, you can do in person or you can do virtual visits through Zoom, either one. So I will make sure and put that link in. We only are opening 30 spots. I think there may be 20 left now. And then if you're thinking like, nope, I just want individualized support, I only want individual coaching, that is another path that we can help you with. You can do apply for coaching and we can set up a free discovery call, which is how you get started with that. So hope you guys are finding this helpful. Tomorrow is the last day of this free 5-day challenge. I cannot believe it. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock for the last day. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.
Bye.